Welcome to the Backlash at backlash.com. My name is Rod Van Mecklin, and in this video I'm going to read and comment on excerpts from my 1994 article, The Rape Crisis Revisited. One of the primary pop feminist assertions is that 1 in 3 women will be victims of rape or attempted rape at least once, that another woman is raped in America every 11 seconds. Rather than tumble to accept this wild and therefore newsworthy assertion without hesitation, perhaps we should give it a closer look. Just where does this idea come from? The 1 in 3 statistic began with the Ms. Magazine project on sexual assault directed by Mary Koss. Now, that was in 1982. Let me see here. 1982, 33 years ago. So the rape culture began with second-wave feminists 33 years ago. In her initial findings, Koss asserted that 27% of college women had been victims of rape or attempted rape an average of 2 times between the ages of 14 and 21. Now you have to consider that in her opinion, rape was not an act of deviance, but a behavior characteristic of the average man. So by that logic, 27% was probably an understatement in her opinion. So she was very biased. Beginning with a bias was only one of several flaws in the rape crisis movement, which are examined in the March-April 1994 issue of Society magazine. I strongly encourage you to look that up. The Society magazine website is available on the web, but the article is not. So you would need to go to a library, dig through the stacks, and find it. It's an excellent article. I strongly recommend it. Believe me, feminists don't want you reading that. Before I list the flaws here, I want to note that when Warren Farrell pointed out in The Myth of Male Power that approximately 1 million rapes of men occur in prison every year, the typical response from anti-male bigots, which is what we called misandrists back then, was that it was just a male problem. Because it's men doing it to men. Not only does this ignore the plight of non-violent men who, regardless of the sex of the perpetrator, are innocent victims nonetheless, and the contributory role women play in the dynamics of rape and social violence, but it also exposes a callous bigotry. If they really cared for the victims, the sex of the victims and perpetrators wouldn't matter. As to the flaws in Koss's assertions, they're as follows, again taken from Society magazine. First, almost 3/4 of the students whom Koss defined as victims of rape didn't think they had been raped. If this was irrelevant, then there's no such thing as hostile environment sexual harassment since, by definition, it depends entirely on the perspective of the alleged victim. It was 1991 when America first became acquainted with hostile environment sexual harassment. That's when Anita Hill made her allegations against Clarence Thomas. Yes, Anita Hill, strong, mighty, powerful woman, social justice warrior, male humor. No, anything but that. I can't take Coca-Cola can. Get it away, get it away. Imbeciles. Second, 42% of these women went back and had sex again with the men Koss says raped them. Either they're masochists or they're not victims. And then the third of the 3 points that I wanted to take from the Society magazine had to do with guys going to bars, plying women with drugs and drink, hoping to get lucky. And she defined that as rape and attempted rape. I think it was Miss Mythanthropist on her channel. She had a really good video in which she pointed out, woman goes to a bar, gets drunk, driving home, runs over somebody, it's her fault. Nobody questions that. She got drunk, it's her fault, she was responsible. But same woman, same scenario, except on her way home, she doesn't run over somebody. Instead, she goes home with a guy who's also drunk. They have sex. The next morning she wakes up, has regrets about that. He's at fault. He's the one who's responsible. She's not. Such is feminist logic. I'm going to stop here. The rest of the article is linked down below. The point that I wanted to make is that the allegations that we live in a rape culture in which women who live in the safest communities in history are subject to a constant barrage of random acts of rapiness began not with the third wave feminists, but in 1982 with the second wave, and feminists like Mary Koss, Patricia Ireland, Susan Brown Miller, Catherine McKinnon, Andrea Dworkin, Kate Millett, and Shulamith Firestone, among many others, the latter of whom were unapologetic Marxists. As Bern Chapin at Chapin's Inferno, a wandering cauldron of politically incorrect commentary, says, feminism is a cultural Marxist movement. Sorry, leftists, it's true. Their whole purpose and intent is to destroy American society. They attack masculinity, tear down the family, destroy heterosexuality, all for the purpose of tearing down Western society, Western culture. Feminism has its pretty faces and apologists who fool us into thinking the movement has redeeming qualities, but it has none. We've seen where such movements end in the regimes of Stalin and Hitler and Mao, who murdered millions of their own. As our economies grind further into depression, this is where the West is headed, as demonstrated by the collapse of Detroit and the riots most recently in Baltimore. But our future is only as bleak as we allow, and I'll have more to say about that in future videos. Subscribe to the channel and check out the other videos, more of which are soon to come. For the Backlash at backlash.com, my name is Rod Van Mecklin.